Hello, everyone. This is Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily here. I'm with Shawn Burkett, writer, director, producer, cinematographer, veritable Swiss Army knife of things around the Don't Fuck in the Woods 2 movie coming out October 11th. How are you doing, Shawn?
Pretty good. How are you?
No complaints. We were just talking before I hit record here that we're both in Ohio, so it's nice to meet someone who's not too far away. And
Yeah.
I wanted to say, first and foremost, congrats to you all on the sequel, and was curious to know kind of if you could just give our audience, folks that'll watch this, a bit of a synopsis of what is Don't Fuck in the Woods 2 about.
Um, it's about uh, a survivor who is still trying to survive and comes across a uh, summer camp that's being updated for the upcoming summer. And while she's there, uh, kind of carnage ensues from the night, let's say the night before.
To say the
Uh,
least.
yeah, because it is a direct sequel. It picks up the same day as the first film. So,
Awesome. Well, I know we're going to avoid spoilers as much as possible. So I appreciate the synopsis and also playing it a bit close to the chest as well. Now, it's been about 6 years since the original was made, give or take. Um, what was the inspiration to continue the story and make what is now, the sequel?
oh man, I wish there was inspiration in this story. Um, it actually just ended up. I got an email from an investor who was really wanting to know if I would make a Don't Fuck 2, and he offered me 10 grand to make it. And I was like, well, that's a good starting point. We only had 7,500 for the first film, so this is a step in the right direction. Um, so me and the co-writer Cheyenne Gordon, we started coming up with ideas, and then we filmed a couple teasers just with some local people. And right as we announced it, uh, that investor just disappeared.
Oh
I still
no.
haven't heard from him to this day. But at that point, it was like, well, damn, we've announced this movie. It seems like people would like to see this movie. So I guess we got to make this movie. So a producer from the first film, Chris Growski, uh, he came in and like gave us a little bit of funding to like get us on our feet. And then we just went and did an Indiegogo and came up with about $14,000 total. Uh, and then, yeah, we were just like, I guess we're making a movie.
Huh. That's interesting. I mean, I'm sorry to hear that the investor dropped out. Hope they're okay, I guess. I'm not sure.
Right. I don't know what happened to the guy. I can't say I really knew him. Like, I get a ton of emails about investing and this, that, and the other. So that was one of the first ones that I had gotten. And thankfully, it didn't work out because at that point, he would have gotten like 50% of the film. So it's kind of a, catch 22 or
Yeah.
a blessing, really, that that didn't pan out with him.
Now, did that change? Did that kind of the news that that investor dropped out, but also then finding new funding? How did that at all change the original vision you all have come together around, or did it pretty much stay the same?
It pretty much stayed the same. We knew that we basically had to make sure that this was set in 1 to 2 locations that weren't just the woods. Like that was our big thing, because it's like, even though it's called Don't Fuck in the Woods, it hasn't to this point always taken place 100% in the woods. So we didn't want to do that, and that was a struggle at first. But then we really started thinking about it. Like, the first one is more of an homage to like even Evil Dead a little bit, but those, people going on a trip or going camping. And then the second one, we wanted to lean into like some later 80s stuff, like with Sleepaway Camp and even some of the Friday the 13th movies, to where it's now at a summer camp. So um, it didn't really change a lot, but we knew that we needed to find a summer camp one way or another.
Yeah, that's location scouting is probably one of the more challenging aspects of the production. And I was curious to know, like, when you think about the experience um, this time around, what, if anything, stands out from the production? Things that went extremely well, or is there anything aside from this kind of investor debacle that threw a bit of a hiccup into things?
Um, wow. I would have to say I should not be allowed to schedule a movie for sure. Um, the first block of filming, we were scheduled to do 7 days straight, and we accomplished 5 of those days. And it was to the point where those first 5 days, we literally were awake and running for 21 hours a day.
Jeez.
To where by that fifth day, I made some phone calls to producers, and I was like, I really don't think we're going to finish this film in this amount of time. So we saved some money and basically went back, and it was the ending of the film that just didn't set right. Like, there was just something about it. I wasn't 100% a fan of it while we were scripting it. And then, yeah, it felt like it needed something different, because we didn't have the budget to pull off like what it needed. Like, it involved like somebody chucking a can of propane at this big monster, and like right as it gets in front of them, like shooting it, and it explodes in their face and throws them into the woods. Like, we had some ideas on how to film it, but it wouldn't have been like cinematic.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just not. And the ending that's in the film, um I'm not gonna lie, was completely on the fly. It was not scripted. Like, it was just, I knew what I wanted, and I was like, let's find a way to go from what we shot to what I want to shoot. To where it's like, I knew I wanted a cave, and we couldn't. I mean, it's not like we knew where a bunch of caves were in Ohio.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh,
Just pull out our
so
Ohio cave map you get when you sign up, right?
right. So we actually built that cave inside of the apartment that myself and my business partner Ryan Stacy, where we live. Um, which for me, like, gave it a sense of like, hey, we're building a set. This is something that we haven't really done before. But also, I felt it played into that, like, I don't want to say gimmicky, but that fun, like, 80s horror of like, this is kind of ridiculous, but I like it.
It's the DIY element of like people
Right,
pulling up the bootstrap production.
right.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I think that one thing I noticed while I was watching it is that the ending does come up a bit abruptly,
Yeah.
but it does. There are some things that are worth waiting till the end for. Again, trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible for folks that take it in. And going back to the time passing between the first and the second one, what do you think? Kind of you as a filmmaker, what's changed about what you learned after making the first one that has influenced not just how you've made the second one, but other films within the Concept Media catalog, like Stranded, which was just at Horror Hound, which we were at a couple weeks ago.
Um, Definitely. I mean, the first film, up until the sequel, I had always I was the cameraman. I did everything. Um, it wasn't the easiest thing, but I let go of that, and I'm glad I did, because it gave me a better chance to direct cast, but also like be able to direct the camera as well. Um, I'm not gonna say like Don't Fuck in the Woods 2 is like a cinematic gem by any means, but there are some shots in it, like when they all come out of the bunkhouse and they're running to help the girl. Like that's a nice little shot, like coming back and panning. Like it was nice to have a little more freedom to direct in general.
Now, do you find that that's something you're going to carry forward? Is like maybe the relinquishing some of that control is a better way for you as a director to be able to create, or do you find that I'm glad I did that, but maybe I'm going to take a little bit more of the reins back?
Um, when it comes to features, I definitely I need that space, that headspace to really think more. I'll I don't know. It depends on what my camera op TJ is doing, but I could film some shorts and stuff. Uh, it's just really nice to. I'll be honest. He knows how to work all that gear. We got so much new gear, like a Ronin 3-axis gimbal with, and I don't know. That's one thing that since I stopped running camera, I have not learned how to work our gimbals. So anything I shoot is going to be handheld.
Yeah, well, you work with what you know. I mean, I think that there's definitely a technical, like a noticeable technical difference between the first and the second. Some of that being the cameras, but also, as you mentioned, some of the technical aspects of just the angles and the shots and things like that. And it definitely does make the second one feel much more cinematic in nature, especially the beginning parts of it, which are apparent from the production. And you know, when going back to the kind of broader independent filmmaking idea for just a moment, when you think about some of the most rewarding, but also some of the most challenging aspects of it, what would you say has been some of the most rewarding parts of being, you know, so active in the independent film community, but also what are some of the biggest challenges you're continually facing that get in the way? Budget aside, let's say the budget is already one that everyone struggles with.
I mean, there's just been a love and or hate thing with Don't Fuck in the Woods and Don't Fuck in the Woods 2, to where like even this weekend I went to a convention, and it's like there were so many indie filmmakers there, to where it's like I don't know. I can definitely say I was standoffish. Like I didn't really talk to many of them, because it's like I don't know who's okay with me, who hates me. I mean, the first film, I mean, there was so much hate mail, and just it was bad.
Really? What was the hate directed at?
I mean, mainly the title, but it was people jumping to conclusions.
Uh,
They instantly thought that since fuck was in the title, it was going to be porn. It was going to be just horrible, which just felt weird, because at that point in time, let's say 2014, I mean, I feel like we were definitely escalating in a more progressive route when it comes to like even sex workers or the adult entertainment industry. So it felt odd.
hmm.
Like, really, these people are going bananas because I put a 4-letter word in the title of this film. And the only promo at that point in time, it was when that there was a like thing that was really big. It was like keep calm, and then like do whatever.
Yeah.
But the only thing I put out was it said keep calm, don't fuck in the woods. And that was enough to for people to just not dig it at all.
That's unfortunate. I mean, I think that we, particularly the horror genre as a whole, operates in kind of the the community is based on people that enjoy the fringes, right? You know, you want to be, you're usually someone who's either been maligned in your own kind of personal life and you find solace in horror, or you just, you know, the multitude of reasons that bring people to the genre, a lot of them being because you can't find community elsewhere. Um, and it's unfortunate there is a lot of gatekeeping that happens and a lot of, um, I'll just say like unnecessary, just call it clickbait hate, you know, people that really want to rile up an audience just to take something down or pull it back, or in some cases blow it up. Um, you know, I bit of a side tangent for a moment here, but it's almost like the hate that folks like Rob Zombie get for just making movies. You know, whatever you think of his films or the people he uses in his films, you know, he's out there doing it. You know, and there's a lot of hate that gets directed at filmmakers just simply because they're doing what they love.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate that I think that, you know, folks like yourself and the production overall get tarnished by an agenda, you know, an agenda to try and take something down because you don't agree with it, or to try and, you know, malign something simply because it rubs you the wrong way because you use a, you know, you use a 4-letter word you choose not to, or for whatever reason. I mean, it's okay to dislike a movie on merits, but and for your own reasons, but without sight unseen or just on title alone. That's an unfortunate
Right.
part of the community.
Well, and it's kind of one of those things. Like, I'm a big guy, to where it's like, you know, I've got tattoos, and it's like I can remember like back I started in like photography, and like, you know, I would work with some models to where even they were kind of standoffish, like thinking like, oh well, this is a big guy, lots of tattoos, and like I don't know if I have like resting I'm gonna attack you face or what. But it's just one of those things. Like, I go back to like growing up to like things that like parents had said, like, treat people how you want to be treated, don't judge a book by its cover. Like, it's those simplistic things that I think a lot of people as they grow up just throw out the window, and it's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
it really is. I mean, especially when it comes to creating, you know, movies for the genre. And again, we watch, you know, we watch a lot of independent films for our site. You know, we try and cover quite a few. There's you know, almost an embarrassment of riches at this point when it comes to content, which, you know, can be a blessing as much of a burden. But I think a lot of folks forget that, you know, no one sets out to make a bad movie. I don't think anyone picks up a camera or puts pen to paper or fingers to keyboard to write a script and says, "I'll make the worst fucking movie I've ever thought in my entire life." You know, it's not like the producers, right? Like, we're not trying to. People don't want to bomb, but there is this element of reception, and like particularly with the way the internet kind of gives everyone a platform. Uh, it's an unfortunate, I guess, component of community. And
Yeah.
hopefully, you know, I mean, as far as my experience goes with independent filmmakers, their view, they tend to be some of the friendliest folks out there because there is an understanding of, you know, kind of, you get to see the best and the worst of folks, whether you have to deal with some ugly producers, or, you know, toxicity on your sets, or just the delights that come from having a small group of people making a film together. So has the overall, like, do you find that most of the ire that's directed at the film is from, you know, the, I'll just call it the letterbox crowd, or do you find it's more from your peers?
Oh no, this is the letterbox crowd for sure. Like, I don't know. Like, I used to be one way about things. I used to feel a certain way about like people leaving comments like on trailers, like, "Oh, this looks like shit," or this, that, and the other, or reviews on IMDb talking about how bad the film was. Those things like used to really get me down, but it's you're not going to please everyone.
Yeah.
And I at least know this much, that I'm not going to set out and try to please everyone. Um, I guess for me, this is more about entertaining people. I want to, if this movie can distract you in some way for even, I mean, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the whole movie, if it can distract you from the horrors of real life and like real life situations that are going on, then I feel like I've done my job. Like that's my goal. I'm not, this isn't gonna try to win an Academy Award by any means. I'm not saying it's a great movie. I'm not saying it's a horrible movie. It's just a movie that I hope entertains.
Well, I think that from my standpoint, it certainly does entertain, and I think everyone's mileage varies on whatever movies they choose to watch. But at the end of the day, giving there's a lot we miss because we just don't give something a shot. It's quite interesting in my you mentioned kind of people change as time goes on and growth happens, right? And there was a time not too long ago where I was of the mind that I'm not going to watch something that I haven't heard of, like not something that I haven't heard of, meaning, never like not something I'm familiar with, but more just, oh, if it looks independent, I'm not going to watch it, or I've got other things to watch. And what you end up finding out is there's just as many bad, well produced movies as there are great, ill funded films out there.
Right.
And the job of a genre fan, from my perspective, right? Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but if a fan's job is to go out there and find joy in the community they've aligned themselves with. And for horror, there's again it's a wealth of riches out there in the independent side, but I think we tend to put this, we put a mental block around it. And that's unfortunate that
Oh no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I used to be the same way, which at that point it was like, how can you make independent film but not watch independent films? And it's like, I don't know, back then, like it felt very snobby, like it was a weird thing. Um, but it was, I will say, like, okay, so before I made film, I was a touring musician and like an audio engineer. So for me, like audio is like a thing that like it doesn't matter if it's a Rob Zombie movie, a Steven Spielberg movie. If the audio just isn't, if you can't hear everything that somebody's saying and it doesn't sound like they're 30 feet away from the microphone, like it just bugs the hell out of me, to where it's like it takes me out of what was going on. So therefore it's like, I don't know, I'm not going to save myself from this. It just kind of ruins the illusion for me.
yeah, I could see that. I mean, there's a quite a few films I watch on the shot and video genre, and those are rife with a series of just by way of the technology faux pas that occur. I mean, I spoke with the brothers who put together Slaughter Day out in Hawaii, and the film was literally edited on 2 VHS recorders.
Yeah.
You can hear the cuts and the edits, but there's a part of that is like these people poured their heart into making that. Whether it was, you know, I think the funny thing is everyone assumes that people look at their films and say this is the greatest thing ever made. The reality is, I think filmmakers are probably far more critical of their work than any fan will ever be. But it's the appreciation of the intention that everyone's going here to try and make a good film, try and make an entertaining film. You work with what you have to do it, and
Right.
I think that's the part that gets lost in the conversation. Unfortunately, is that people focus so much on what's in it for them that they don't always appreciate kind of how it got to be. And in some ways it can change your opinion of film. By nature of talking with folks, you do get to develop a different understanding of what they're going for. So
Yeah.
um, if this is a long pitch for more entertainment independent film, people to watch more independent film, then it absolutely will be. But I wanted to ask you about if you were going to plan program like kind of a triple feature to premiere ahead of Don't Fuck in the Woods 2. And you can't use the first one, but you have to pick three films you think are really going to help people get in the spirit for the sequel. What three films would you pick?
Like any films?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be horror. If you whatever you think is going to get people in the mindset to appreciate Don't Fuck in the Woods 2 as much as possible.
Wow. I would go with, oh, that's a hard question. Um, ooh, that is a hard question. I feel like I should throw Night of the Creeps in there somewhere.
Can see it.
And I was gonna, well, I can't, I don't want to like lean on the like slug aspect of things. uh I'm gonna throw this is gonna be so weird, but I'm gonna throw Sleepaway Camp 2 in there.
I like it. It's
Go with
got
that.
that. I was thinking to myself before we got to recording that you know, if there was like a goth version of Andy Sedaris out there making horror movies, that's exactly what Don't Fuck in the Woods and the sequel are kind of are. It's like these like kind of awesome, you know, full spectacle in every way of blood, violence, and breasts, and you know it does definitely capture that very much exploitation 70s 80s grindhouse vibe. So if you do find out that you say, hey, there's three other ones actually I want to pick instead, you can send those lists over. But I think that's a pretty good triple feature right there.
Yeah, that's a yeah, I'd have to I that could take me like a month to try to think.
It'll
Man,
be
what
like 2:30 in like a month from now in the morning. You'll wake up in a cold sweat because I gotta call that Mac guy, tell him my triple feature.
right?
Well, I got one last question for you guys. You know, what other films do you know, yourself and the rest of the concept media folks have in the works? You know, I know, as I said, we mentioned Stranded a little bit earlier. Matt had his premiere, I think, at Horror Hound this year.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that you all are working on that you'd like to share with anyone?
We are currently working on wrapping a film called Mr. Buzzkill, which is, man, I really don't know how to sum it up, but it's definitely a love letter to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre for sure. I mean, a masked guy, but instead of a chainsaw, he's got a gas powered circular saw running around killing kids that are basically on his property.
I love it.
So
Sign me up.
that's from director Rob Collins. And this is one of the first times that like I'm I guess acting. I guess that's what it would be. I play the villain because I'm a big guy, so all I got to do is wear a mask and run after people and kill them. So I was like, I can do that as long as I don't have any lines. Yeah, I can do that.
Excellent. And so that's just finished production.
We're working on wrapping that up. We're hoping to finish it this month, and then we're hoping to be able to start submitting it for film festivals early next year. Yeah, then we've got some things that have been in pre-production. Ryan Stacy has a couple things. I don't know if I can legally talk about them yet. Okay, he might not be in the room. Oh, yeah, I didn't know if I could talk about those yet. He's got a film called Starlets in pre-production, which is it's a slasher, but it's kind of it's a period piece. It's set in the 40s in Hollywood, and like imagine Joan Crawford and Marilyn Monroe. Like Monroe's like the new crop of actresses coming in, and these older women have to deal with that.
Huh.
So it's definitely like a love letter to the whodunit kind of slashers. Um,
Like the
yeah,
pre-Halloween stuff.
yeah, like it's very like Clue, but like a slasher. So there's that. I've got a Mothman film I'm working on. I'm gonna stay in creature features for as long as I can, because I just feel that there need to be more of them.
I would agree with you.
And then we also have my business partner Ryan Stacy. We're wrapping up a fan film, which is the sequel to his first fan film, She Burns in Hell, which is a Carrie fan film.
Hmm. I'll
So
write that down.
that's currently, you can watch that on YouTube, and we're hoping very, very soon to put out the sequel on YouTube as well.
Amazing. Well, Shawn, that's with a lot to look forward to. And I want to thank you for not just the time, but also the great conversation. Don't Fuck in the Woods 2 is going to be out on October 11th. You can catch it, I believe, on all major streaming platforms. And of course, you can buy a copy on Amazon or from our partners over at, I think MDVD might be carrying it as well. And Shawn, again, thank you for your time and for your films, and looking forward to more of them.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be a part of this.